Hello, okay, and welcome, bienvenue, willkommen, howdy to our American audience. This brings us to the end of the second round of matches in the group stage of the Club World Cup, and you are joining us live on VAR and Espresso. With me, we have the indomitable Leo. Bonjour,
Hi.
Leo.
Hi, bonjour. How are you?
Okay, I'm British. You can never be more than okay. Right, so I hear that we didn't actually cover the matches on Sunday. So what we're going to do, we're going to start today by going over Sunday's results and a few analytical points about that before we move on to the last round of second matches. And we'll look at the groups and then preview today's games, which is bound to be exciting. So let's crack straight in it. I suppose the first game to look at would be Internazionale 2, Urawa Reds 1. A result that I don't think many people would have known how close this game was if you just saw the scoreline. Urawa were winning for most of the game, and it looked like it was going to be one of the shocks of the tournament before one of the smartest, most intelligent goals from Lautaro Martinez equalised before Inter won it in stoppage time. Leo, what did you think of the game? What surprised you?
I was surprised by Urawa's capacity to play against to play that way against Inter. Also, I have to note that their fans were really good. We are not used to hear about Japanese ultras or support, but the thing is that they were brilliant, and it was a really nice game. I agree with you about the perfect Lautaro Martinez goal, and I want to also give some respect to Valentin Carboni, who were injured for the last 7 or between 7 last 9 months. He was on loan at Marseille. His loan were break because of his injury, and it's his first game back since that. And just like that, he scored an important goal for his team. So I think we can give him his flowers.
I only recently heard that expression. It's a very good expression. Yeah, like I say, Inter, the final stats show that Inter had more than 80% of possession. So you can only imagine the intense pressure Urawa Reds were under for the entire match. But in the 11th minutes, they had one counter-attack, and they did it brilliantly with Watanabe scoring in the 11th minutes. But yeah, essentially it was Inter's attack versus Urawa's defense, and it lasted so long. I remember messaging in our group chat that I couldn't genuinely believe it because Inter didn't have a shot on target till about the 50th minute.
No.
So they were quite wasteful with their chances, and in fact only had 4 shots on target in the entire match, which is only 1 more than Urawa. But as I mentioned, it took something truly special to actually get into on level terms, and that happened in the 78th minute. A corner, Barrella's corner, and Lautaro Martinez. Would you describe the finish? I mean, it was quite a special goal.
Yeah, it made me think about in another dimension and another context, and about Gareth Bale's goal in Champions League final. You know, his bicycle kick. He was stepping away from the goal. Yeah, he was stepping away from the goal. It was brilliant. Not as much as Bale's one, but just in the way he did it, it made me think about it.
For those who haven't actually seen the goal, first of all, I recommend go on YouTube and find it. But secondly, unlike say Bale's overhead kick or obviously previous seasons Cristiano Ronaldo's, like where they like leap high in the air and generate all the power, this goal, Martinez has 5 Urawa defenders around him, and he just gets his foot to the ball first, like running away from goal, and he just sort of flicks it over his head. So he uses the pace of the cross rather than generating the power himself. But he just flicks it over his head straight into the goal. It's a fantastic finish, and what technique required to do such a thing?
It's a goal that Ibrahimovic could have scored.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking that. It's that sort of it's the technique as well as almost, it's not cheekiness, but it's the audacity to try something like that.
Yeah, and here is the proof that he's a world-class striker, because not every strikers would have think about doing that gesture at that moment.
Yeah. So that gave Inter the win. So 2-1, which puts them on 4 points for the group. Later on, we're going to move on. So that's Group E. I'll tell you what, let's skip ahead and do the second match in Group E, which was River and Monterrey, which was 0-0. It was a slog. But it wasn't a dead game. I mean, River were dominant. Monterrey looked really happy just to take the draw, and that was quite apparent from early on. What did you think?
I think it was not the best. Firstly, it was not the best game of the tournament. It was very tough. There were, I think, about 40 fouls in that game. It was. We talked about it, about the fact that Monterrey used to win or draw the game like with one goal, or it wasn't a very attractive game, and it was another proof of that point you were saying last week. River didn't have the possession of the ball, but they get the main occasions. They were the most threatening team, I think. They shoot 18 times on the goals, but it was not efficient goal shots. So, yeah, I think the 0-0 is well paid for Monterrey.
Yeah, and also we should point out it was quite a stop-start game. A lot of fouls. There were 10 yellow cards, 5 for each team, and including two for Castagno for River. But I mean, there's not much we could probably take from this game. Like I say, it was quite a slog, quite an effort. But it does leave Group E delicately balanced, because River are currently top with 4 points. Inter are second with 4 points, with a smaller, lesser goal difference. Monterrey are third with 2 points, and Urawa Reds have 0 points and are eliminated. So when we get to the final matches, even though Monterrey are third, you might say that they could be favourites to progress, because they've faced both Inter and River, the two most difficult teams, or ranked the most difficult teams in the group, and they haven't lost. They have 2 points. So if they beat the weakest team in the group, Urawa Reds, they're through to the next round. And obviously with Inter and River playing, it's gonna be interesting.
I think too.
Right, let's go to Group F. So what did we say it was Group F? We said it was
Sundowns,
possibly the match of the tournament so far. Most entertaining game of the tournament so far, maybe. Mamelodi Sundowns 3, Borussia Dortmund 4. This was before we came on air, I was talking to you about how much I'm enjoying the Mamelodi Sundowns, and in our preview, I highlighted that they're more of an attacking unit than a defending one, and the hope that that could get them through to the next round. Obviously, they won their first game. Excuse me. They won their first game against Ulsan HD, which of course gives them a chance of progressing. And this one, as much as I enjoyed their attacking play, they were naive at times. So a couple of the goals they conceded were them being caught trying to build up from the back, and perhaps that's the naivety playing against a bigger team. What did you think of this match?
It was quite entertaining, to be honest. I didn't think Sundowns capable of striking free against Borussia Dortmund. The difference on the paper were just too big. So it was a good surprise. I really enjoyed Allende's performance. in the midfield of Mamelodi.
Mm-hmm.
We also saw Jude Bellingham scoring his first goal with Dortmund. So it confirms that he's a good player. He has everything it takes to play in a big club. He's capable of playing with both feet, both foot. He left me a good impression. Also, Serhou Guirassy keeps scoring. It's impressive, but not a surprise after his superb season. You were talking about on the first episode or second. You were talking about Lucas Ribeiro of Mamelodi, and he scored.
The first goal was wonderful, wasn't it? It's very similar to Montiel's goal, actually. In the first round, so that the sort of stealing the ball just like 5 yards ahead of the last defender, and then again sort of the next touch taking him away from a diving last-ditch tackle, and just having the pace and the composure to then finish that chance. It was an excellent goal.
Yeah, it's the kind of goal scored by what I like to call a positive striker or a positive forward. It just wants to find the back of the net. We also saw that with Palmeiras Lopez goal. And it's not the first time in that tournament this kind of goals are scored. So, yeah, I think he is a good striker. But
well, I mean, so I would say Lucas Ribeiro, often, like I say, it's either in the number 10 position or the wide right coming inside. So the striker is Ikram Reyners, who's I think he's got 2 goals in the tournament so far. So he's also shown to be a clinical striker. They were 2 of the players that were highlighted before the tournament, saying they're the danger, and it's shown in both matches. They're both their partnership, but it's also pace and power, and I think it shows a lack of knowledge of, say, the South African League or teams like that, because obviously in our heads, in sort of like the European heads, players that are playing in these leagues wouldn't have the same amount of physical ability or technical ability, but showing that is is completely wrong, and it's basically ignorance. And guys like, no, there are quality players in all of these leagues. But also shows possibly why Mamelodi Sundowns are so dominant in South Africa, because these are genuinely excellent players.
But I hope for them that Ronwell Williams doesn't play like he played against Dortmund every time, because he was. You said naive. He was kind of naive during this game. I think Mamelodi could have expected more if he didn't have such heroes.
And of course, the other match in Group F on Sunday, it was Fluminense 4, Ulsan HD 2. Last point about Mamelodi. Of course, we said it was 4-3 to Dortmund. Mamelodi scored first with that excellent Ribeiro goal, but then Dortmund did get 3 before half time, and then another after. So it was 4-1. And then obviously substitutions were made, and then Mamelodi managed to fight back towards the end with the third goal going in, I think, in the 89th minute. So that would have put a lot of pressure on Dortmund before the final whistle. But really, Dortmund had earned the right to sort of take their foot off the pedal, so to speak. Fluminense for Ulsan 2, with goal the Jean Arias goal in particular was very nice. The opening goal for Fluminense.
I think it's now been a week since the tournament kicked off, and I think John Arias can pretend to be named best player of this first week.
I wouldn't disagree with you. He's again sort of the creative and attacking.
He was a real threat against Dortmund. Now he scored a brilliant free kick. He had his good game, because he also made an assist, if I'm not mistaken. So he has a tremendous start of the tournament.
So looking at Group F, Currently, it has Fluminense at the top with 4 points, Borussia Dortmund second with 4 points, Mamelodi Sundowns third with 3 points, and Ulsan HD on 0 points, and they are out. With the final set of fixtures, Dortmund will play Ulsan and Mamelodi Sundowns will play Fluminense. So much like Group E, there are three teams going for 2 positions. No one is through, and anything's possible. What is your instinct saying who will get through in that group?
I think Dortmund will go through because, they are, in my opinion, the best teams, and they will play against Ulsan, which is already eliminated. And then I think it's kind of 50-50 for the Fluminense Mamelodi Sundowns. Even if Fluminense seems to be a better team, or at least favorites against Mamelodi. Mamelodi showed that they can create surprise and they can answer to a certain press, certain level. So I think it will be disputed and very interesting. One of the best third round game, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, obviously, with Dortmund playing Ulsan, with Ulsan already eliminated, you imagine there'll be a certain amount of rotation just to get players who haven't played yet, give them a game at the Club World Cup, which is a significant thing. So you would imagine Borussia Dortmund will have enough to go through. I am concerned for Dortmund going into the round 16 though, because they looked quite toothless against Fluminense, but also they looked just defensively frail against the Sundowns. And I think once you get into the next round, you're gonna, even if you win the group and play a team in second place. So, for example, they would be playing the runners-up of Group E, which is currently Inter. Obviously, that might change with Inter, River, and Monterrey all going for qualifications. But you get the feeling that Borussia Dortmund would be in trouble against Inter or River. Like River Plates have shown themselves to be quite dangerous attacking wise. So Dortmund are not in a good way. They've done well to get to this 4 points from their opening 2 matches. They haven't lost, and now they're playing the weakest team in the group. So they've done enough at this stage. But the defensively they did not look secure.
Brilliant, as it was the case the whole season.
Actually, that's a very good point. Despite having 2 managers, actually the same issue.
Even
remained.
If it was better in the second part of the season, the first was kind of nightmare.
Yeah, it was actually. It was very, very poor. Okay, so going on to yesterday's and last night's matches. For Group G, you had Juventus and we'd had Casablanca with Manchester City against Al Ain. And in Group H, you had Real Madrid and Pachuca, and Red Bull Salzburg with Al Hilal. So let's start with Group G. The first match of the day was Juventus 4, Wydad Casablanca 1. Did you watch this game, or did you see any of it?
Yeah, it was. The result was more than logical. Juventus really dominated it. They scored 3 times. Really, I think they scored 2 times in the first 15 minutes or 16. Kenan Yildiz continues to show how good he is. More generally, I really talked the trio he formed with Colomwani and Conceição. It worked. His second strike was really horrific. It shows his technical ability, because it's really hard to hit the ball that way, I think. I also really like Kefren Thuram's performance, who showed all of his box-to-box qualities. He can cover a lot of the area. He can carry the ball. He can do a lot. And just to have a word on Widad, I really appreciated Lorch, sorry for the pronunciation, being rewarded with a goal after his very, very fine display against Manchester City.
And an excellent finish as well, sort of clipped over De Gregorio. And some stats for that game. So Juventus did have, sorry, 1 second. Would you take us through Yıldız's the second goal, the sort of like the belting finish?
Yeah. I think it's instinctive for a player to hit the ball like that, because he hit it with the left part of his right foot, so it was kind of a slicey shot. It was extremely powerful. He's kind of, but last season he's shown at Juventus. He was one of the main players. He's just 20, one of Turkish gems with Arda Güler of Real Madrid. Yeah, his progression is really, really good.
Yeah, sorry, there was noise in the background, hence why
no
I thought I'd okay, yes, so some statistics for that match. So Juventus did have 63% possession, but they only had 9 shots to Widad's 15. So actually Widad were making an effort, and they were actually getting places, but they weren't creating anything that clear cut apart from the goal, really. But actually, what was interesting is the shots on target. So Juventus only had 3 shots on target and got 4 goals, and Widad actually had 6. So again, Widad really did themselves proud. Absolutely, well done for them. But Juventus is a theme seems to be with Juventus about the choosing when to shoot. So in their first match, where they won 5-0, they only had 7 shots on target. And in this match, obviously, they only had 3 shots on target, scored 4 goals. So that means they scored 9 goals. 9 goals from 10 shots on target. That's far. So it does. So, but although the funny thing is, 2 of those goals have been outside the box, but they were both yielded. So it does seem that the way that Igor Tudor is setting them up, there is almost like the acceleration. So there's a lot of slow play, the control, and then there are these moments when they speed up, and that's only in those moments that they shoot. Which is itself is quite interesting. I thought Cambiasso, playing at left wing back, was very dangerous.
He made an assist for Yıldız.
And actually, it was his the dribbling before that was excellent as well. Sort of coming in off the left, he dribbled past 2 or 3 players before laying it off for Yıldız. So that was another bright spark. I suppose the only thing I would point out, the only thing I would say negative against Juventus was the Lash or Lurch or the striker for Widad. That goal came from a throw-in on the halfway line on the left wing. There was a throw, then there was one pass into Amrabat, who turned and laid the pass, and then Lurch was in on goal. So that's 2 passes from a throw-in on the halfway line.
It was too easy.
It was so easy, which was quite alarming, considering, I mean, to be fair, Juventus, their 2 matches against El Ain and Widad, they're not the level of competition that you're going to expect in the knockouts. But Juventus have not been perfect defensively, despite the fact they've only conceded 1 goal.
Yeah, but I think it has to be difficult to defend against that type of player. You don't really know what he is capable of, because you never played against him, and moreover, he's super fast. He saw a space in Juventus defense, and he took it immediately. The pass from Amrabat was also really good, because for us, we said that it was just 2 passes, but there is a difference between thinking this pass and realizing it, and it was a perfect cross. So it was a brilliant goal, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was very well taken. But like we say, sort of far too easy for it to actually occur. The other game in Group G, Manchester City 6, El Ain 0. I mean, Was this Manchester City being impressive, or is this just the scoreline we expect from a European juggernaut against a side that's not quite at that level?
Yeah, I think Manchester City is just too good, in my opinion. They got a perfect mix of experienced player. We saw Rodri. We saw a lot of experienced player, for example, and then they added some really young talent. We saw Cherki. We saw Echeverry yesterday, who both scored their first goals. Their first goal with City. Oscar Bob, who is a really, really good player. Ait Nouri, who also display a really good performance. It was a total attack and defense game, with City completing 89% of the passes in the opponent's last third, final third of the area. So yeah, it was domination. And
I'm going to jump in. Just going to jump in quickly. Yeah. So, there was an element of fortune about. So they were leading 3-0 at half time, but the opening goal, Gundogan, in the 8th minute, it was probably a cross as opposed to a shot. So it was like a clipped cross to the back post, which may have been headed in anyway, but it did go straight in. The second goal, the Echeverry in the 27th minute, was a brilliant free kick.
Yeah.
And then Haaland scored in the 5th minute stoppage time from the penalty spot. So the 3 goals against LA, and one was a bit fortuitous, and then the others were set pieces. So it wasn't as if Man City had carved them apart. I mean, obviously they were dominant throughout the whole match. They had 74% possession, 21 shots to Al Ayn's 5, 11 shots on target to Al Ayn's 1. So they were absolutely dominant, no doubt about that. But I'm just saying, like, before half time, it did take a bit of fortune for them to have that lead.
Yeah, but the thing is that if they had a penalty, it's because they were in the opposite box too. So
yeah, that's true.
They to have a penalty, you have to create. A penalty isn't given; it is created. I think because it means that you are in the last third of your opponent's part of the ground. So yeah, it was. As you said, it was as you said, it was 2 set pieces and one, as we can call it, a lucky goal. Even Gundogan post match said he didn't know if he should have pass or shoot, so he just tried to put the ball where he saw his teammates.
Put it in the right area.
I think there were 3 or 4, and I think it's the mark of great players to have this idea to do that. It can seem pretty basic for us, but with the intensity of a game, it demands a lot of IQ, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, I think. Then in the second half, Gundogan got his second goal in the 73rd minute after a fantastic assist by Bernardo Silva, sort of cutting in from the right and threading an incredibly precise pass through into the box for Gundogan. Second, Oscar Bob got his first goal of the tournament in the 84th minute. And the new player, Cherki, as obviously you've already spoken about several times, very exciting young French player. He's got a lovely goal from in the 89th minute, sort of being fed the ball, but him dummying over the ball, then allowing it to run into Haaland, who then lays it back into Cherki. It's a very intelligent goal. I want to have a quick word about Oscar Bob, because you may be aware of this, but at the start of last season, Manchester City were playing Oscar Bob a lot in the pre-seasons. And it looked like he was about to have his big breakthrough year. It looked like he was going to be sharing responsibilities on the right wing, along with like Bernardo Silva or Phil Foden, and having that sort of rotation. But he had a significant injury at the start of the year and sort of lost that. And then obviously Man City went out and bought Savinho. I don't think Savinho would be purchased had Oscar Bob not gotten injured.
Yeah.
But obviously he's still the same talent. He's still an excellent young player. But obviously now he has the issue that on the right of Manchester City's you've now got you've still got players ahead of you, right? You've got possibly not Bernardo Silva or Phil Foden anymore, but they operate better in the middle. But still, they players, experienced players that can play on that. But now you have Cherki as well. So Oscar Bob might, despite the fact last year might have been his big breakthrough moment, he's still waiting for that season where everything clicks into place, where he has 20, 30 games and impresses us all. But that's going to be difficult with all the players still ahead of him, and Savinho, who I just forgot about. Obviously, so Cherki, Savinho, and potentially Foden and Silva. It's getting quite difficult for him to actually get game time.
Just to bounce back on Bob's case, I think, because we know that Grealish is on the move. I don't personally, Jeremy Doku, I think he's a good player, very good player, but he's not he's not an undisputed starter in Pep Guardiola's mind. Savinho is really good, but I think on the right wing he is better. So Oscar Bob may have a coup to play this season.
Yeah, actually, yeah, potentially. And as well, Cherki benefits from, he's quite fluid, isn't he? He can play on either wing.
Yeah.
He can play the number 10. Yeah. Okay, so that brings Group G to a close. And currently, as it stands, Juventus sit top on 6 points with... well, actually, I was going to say superior goal difference. That's not true. Juventus sit top on 6 points. Manchester City are second on 6 points. Juventus are top because they've scored one more goal. Wydad are third, and Al Ain are last. Both of those teams with 0 points. Both of those teams are eliminated. And the last round of matches, Juventus and Manchester City play each other, with Wydad and Al Ain playing each other. Yeah, Juventus, Manchester City. Have you seen anything from Juventus to say that they actually could steal top spot with a draw or a victory?
To be honest, I am very surprised of what Juventus has to offer since the start of the tournament. I don't usually watch them a lot during the season because of the preeminence of football we've got. But yeah, I was kind of surprised. I don't know. We were talking about that on match day one, at the end of match day one, but I don't know if they will be able to keep Kolo Muani and Conceição, which can change a lot of things for them, because they would have to bring on new forwards.
Well, I do. Sorry to interrupt. I did read today. It was reported that Juventus are interested in signing Jadon Sancho from Manchester United, probably on loan.
Yeah.
But it does depend on whether they purchase Conceição.
And I think if they are good negotiators, they can expect to transfer definitively Kolo Muani from PSG, because it doesn't seem Luis Enrique count on him on his project. So, and it was a really bad transfer for PSG, because they bought him 90 million euros and he didn't succeed. He played quite a few games, he scored a few goals, but yeah, it's a real deception. But now at Juventus, he seems better. He seems to appreciate what Igor Tudor tries to do with him and with the team. So yeah, I think it's a good fit.
It would be interesting. I would be keen to see whether Kolo Muani could, because PSG after January are a different PSG before January, and it does seem that Enrique's not that impressed with Gonzalo Ramos up front, because obviously he's playing with a false nine, and that's a lot of part of the reasons why Dembele has been so good at it is because of the energy and the relentless pace and power in the running, which Gonzalo Ramos doesn't seem to offer. Muani could. Muani does have that pace. It's just, I suppose, it's the mentality, and can he step up to what Enrique demands? But that'll be quite interesting to see if he can make that, because it's still, he's still relatively young. He still has a lot of quality, clearly. So let's move on to Group H. The first match of Group H: Real Madrid 3, Pachuca 1. The big talking point, I suppose, is that Real Madrid got a red card, a straight red in the 7th minute, which kind of, first of all, shows just how impressive this victory was, because they were very, very good, and only with 10 men. But also raises something that we've spoken about already, which was the centre-back partnership of Real Madrid, because it's Raul Asensio who got sent off. Now, it's not entirely his fault, because there was a ball over the top, and Dean Huijsen, obviously the new signing from Bournemouth, he was a good 5-6 yards further back than everybody else. And obviously with Raul Asensio then having to chase back, he then pulled, it was Salomon Rondon running in behind, and he pulled his shirt on the edge of the box, last man, straight red card. So obviously there are the issues of the fact that this is a new centre-back partnership, and the worries obviously that we laid out before the tournament started. But also, it's not looking great for Raul Asensio, because in the first match he conceded quite a silly penalty, not in a similar way. And obviously with this red card, it does appear that he's rapidly becoming the issue at centre-back, despite the fact he was their only centre-back at the start of the tournament.
I think it was very poor defending by Asensio, but it's in the way he showed last season. Sorry, I don't think he's a really, really great player. I don't think he can have embraced the same career at Real Madrid as Sergio Ramos did, for example. Just talking about, I know Ramos is a quite a legend, but I can't see real qualities except from pace and kind of
I think we have said this before about the fact that he's always going to be the 4th or 5th choice centre back. It's just, but because he's a Real Madrid graduate, the fact that he helps with the UEFA competition submissions for squad rules.
But what was strangely enough is that Real were better with 10 men than with 11, because we talk about his red card, but remember that before he was sent off, they were struggling, Real Madrid.
Yeah, I mean, Xabi Alonso has spoken before about how, and Pedro has joined us. Hello, Pedro.
Hi, Pedro.
Hello, good afternoon, guys. I hope everything is fine.
Yes. We're just talking about the Real Madrid Pachuca game. We've only just gone on to it. Yes. So you're absolutely right. I mean, obviously, it was only 7 minutes in that the red card happened, so obviously it was only a few minutes they were struggling. Xabi Alonso spoke about the difficulty of having to. Before the first match, I think it was reported he only had 3 training sessions with them. So this is this is still very early stages. It's going to be quite clunky and difficult. But what was interesting was the tactical shift. So after the red card, Tchouaméni's then sort of dropped back into centre back, but they sort of played a 4-2-1-2 or 4-3-1-1. So Vinicius Junior sort of being the floating player, sometimes with Güler on the other side, and Gonzalo Garcia sort of being the only focal point. But even he was sort of dropping back as a false nine. So it was like they were trying to compact the space as much as possible, because then they could release these balls over the top for Vinicius Junior to run onto. So the first goal, Bellingham, that was a good goal, wasn't it? So that was some really good work. Fran Garcia played the ball into the left-hand side of the box. Bellingham. This is why I say like the 4-2-1-2 or the 4-3-1-1, because it relied on these the midfielders charging into the box to support, and that was kind of the case for all 3 goals. It was midfielders joining the attack and actually timing the runs perfectly. So in this case, Bellingham. What did you think? It was a good goal? Did you think it was just?
I think Bellingham will be back at the front of Real Madrid attack with Xabi Alonso, as he did last season or 2 seasons ago. I say last season, but the season isn't closed, so you understood.
It's a great.
The first season he was at Real Madrid. I think.
I see what you mean, but it's quite interesting because obviously in that season Bellingham was the sort of like the again almost like a false nine, sort of dropping back. But then either side you had Vinny Jr., but you also had Rodrigo on the other side, who seems to always be played on the right, even though he's a left winger. But now, of course, you have Mbappe as well. Not currently, because he's only just been discharged from hospital. But moving forward, do you think that would work? Because that would rely on Vinicius Jr. or Mbappe being the right-hand side of Bellingham.
Yeah, but I think when you see Mbappe plays, you can see that he dropped back on the field. So when he drops back on the field and Bellingham go ahead, maybe it can work. But I don't think if Mbappe holds his position as a pure 9, it will work, because they will do like Mbappe and Vinicius often did this season. They will be too close to be efficient.
Well, the second goal, I'll be honest, the second goal was actually one of my favorite goals of the tournament. Again, considering Real Madrid had to pick their moments when to really attack. So it comes from Vinicius Jr. sort of dropping into the space just outside the centre circle, and then switching play to the right wing where Trent Alexander-Arnold has bombed forwards. And his first time pass into the path of Gonzalo Garcia was perfect. And of course, then Garcia then played a first-time pass into the path of Goulet. So he had this wonderful thing of one pass from Vinicius Jr., and then first-time pass from Trent Alexander-Arnold into the middle, and then a first-time pass from Gonzalo Garcia into the path of Goulet. So it was this incredible passage. It was like 1-1, 1, and then suddenly Goulet is 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, and it was a great finish.
Yeah, I think the quality of the 3 Real Madrid goals deserves a special mention. It's the Xabi.
And again, sorry to jump again, but all of them from midfielders.
Yeah. And you, Pedro, did you watch this game?
I watch all the games excluding the last one, because yesterday it was the final match in the NBA Game 7.
Course,
I was focusing there. My free play on the NBA also cash, which is good for the people who follow me on X. You know, guys, I like to be in the B side, and I have here a question for both of you guys. Do you remember the game between Boca and Benfica, that 2-2 draw, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the players of Boca, Figal and Herrera, they got a 4-game suspension. It means it's more than 50% of the tournament. What do you think, guys, that FIFA wants to make here a statement, or it was an excessive punishment?
Sorry, was it? Did you say it was both of them or just Herrera?
No, both of them. The same 4-game suspension.
It does seem quite excessive, doesn't it? Considering there have been I think back to, I mean, this was a while ago now, but when Luis Suarez was banned for racially abusing Patrice Evra in the English Premier League, that was only for 4 matches, wasn't it?
I don't. To be honest,
I seem to remember he was banned for a significant period of time for biting people. But yeah, 4 matches seems a long time for that. But then again, it's 3.
That kind of tournament.
Yeah, but I suppose a violent, dangerous tackle is a 3-match suspension if it's deemed dangerous enough. Yeah, I don't know why it's 4 as opposed to 3. 3 surely would have been the logical number, but was there any explanation?
I think. Yeah. I think there were
any explanation given. Pedro, do you know of any explanation?
No, they don't give explanations in this kind of suspensions. They just saw, they analyzed the plays, and they decided for a 4-game suspension, which means that players only can be again in the tournament if Boca Juniors reach the semifinals.
Yeah, that does seem mad. Yeah. Okay, well, we got Real Madrid, and the last match we've yet to cover is Red Bull Salzburg 0, Al Hilal 0. Now, obviously,
if I can just add something on Real Madrid, is that I really liked Gonzalo Garcia's performance yesterday.
It was mature, wasn't it?
Yeah, Now, since the start of the tournament, he proved decisive twice in 2 starts, made the most of the opportunities given by Xabi Alonso. And I thought that Hendrik will now have to fight for his place as a second choice striker, because now he is injured. But if Gonzalo Garcia keeps playing like that, it will be tough for him. And it's Real Madrid who will be beneficiary. Who will benefit this duel.
It'll be interesting because you imagine one of them will be kept as the second striker and one would be loaned out for regular game time. It will be interesting to see who needs the regular game time more at this stage, because I think they're similar ages, aren't they, Gonzalo Garcia and Hendrik? Yes, anyway, very good point. Very well made. Red Bull Salzburg 0, Al Hilal 0. Now, obviously, anytime we talk about 0-0, we think, dear God, this is going to be dull. But this is a really good match. This is really, really fun. Actually, despite the fact it was 0-0, there were 32 shots in total, 10 shots on target in total. And actually, there were 2 goal line clearances. And the goalkeeper for Al Hilal, Bono, made a couple of fantastic saves. Did either of you two watch this game?
I did. I think it was an entertaining game, as you said, not of enormous technical quality. Sorry, the shot on target ratio was really poor. The intensity was okay, but not as impressive as we have
it wasn't a high tempo or high octane game, but there was it was back and forth. It was very even.
And what we can remember about this game are the good defensive moves to prevent the opposition side to up on the score. You talked about Bunu's save. We can also highlight Rasmussen's tackle.
Yes. I was going to say the 2 goal line clearances. Koulibaly for Al Hilal. That was very intelligent, recognizing the danger and retreating. But Rasmussen's in the first half was fantastic. Sort of like this last ditch lunge. It was brilliant.
And if I can just add little stats, it's only the 5th 0-0 in 32 games so far. So it proves that the Club World Cup is interesting to watch. Entertaining, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. There are goals. Pedro, did you see this match? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I saw the match, and Salzburg had the bird in their hands, and they're ready to go. They had at least 2 clear opportunities to score, and now in the final round of this group stage, they will facing Real Madrid. So this group is very open. We don't know which teams are going through. It's different because the group, I think the group G, it was the most unbalanced one.
There were 2 very strong teams, weren't they, in group?
Yeah,
group
2 very strong teams. They won by a large margin of goals. There's never in question whose teams are going through. But this group H, I think will be a very good third round, because the game between Real Madrid and Salzburg doesn't mean that Real Madrid is going to win easily. I think it will be a competitive game. And I agree with you. I think this tournament is just in the beginning. I think the next rounds and the playoffs will be fun, will be very enjoyable to watch, with goals, opportunities, thrilling games. That's what I expected from this tournament: thrilling games and goals.
And also we have seen. Sorry.
Go ahead.
But to sort of back up your point, what we've also seen is interest in the tournament quite literally increase. So the attendances have also improved now in the second round of matches. We after the first round of matches, it was barely over 50% as an average. Now it's gone up to nearly 60%, I believe, after this round of matches. Somewhere between 55 and 60, I seem to remember. So it's slowly increasing. And obviously, once you get to the round of 16, where you're going to be left with the vast majority of, let's say, quote unquote, the larger teams, as well as some South American teams, hopefully. Yes. So I completely understand what you're saying. It does seem to be picking up a pace. There seems to be momentum, which you also always get with these tournaments, right? So same with the FIFA World Cup, right? So obviously the first two rounds of matches, what you want. What I was about to say is of the 4 groups we've covered today, in three of them, there are 3 teams still trying to qualify, as opposed to 1 team. So it's very, very competitive. These clubs aren't guaranteed progression yet. And also, these clubs aren't eliminated yet. And that's what you want for the vast majority of groups, because it just keeps it all very, very interesting. Just to give you what it is, as Pedro was saying, Real Madrid will play Red Bull Salzburg in the last game, and they are both on 4 points, with Real Madrid first and Red Bull Salzburg second. Al Hilal are currently unbeaten, but only have 2 points after 2 draws, but they play bottom group Pachuca in the final game. So if Al Hilal beat Pachuca in the final match, they are through at the expense of either Real Madrid or Red Bull Salzburg.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they will go through. I don't see Salzburg win against Real Madrid, and I think Al Hilal will succeed against Pachuca.
Yeah, I would say that they've only scored once so far, although against the 2 strongest teams in the group. But that'll be the only concern. Having said that, they do have like decent strike power with Marco Leonardo and Alexander Mitrovic. So finally for today, let's go through the fixtures that are coming up today. Strangely, we start with Group B as opposed to Group A. But Group B, we have Atletico Madrid versus Botafogo and Seattle Sounders against PSG. Now, to remind you of the group, Botafogo are currently top on 6 points. PSG are second on 3. Atletico are third on 3, but with a head-to-head against PSG, they are third, and Seattle are already eliminated. They have 0 points. So we are in this confusing situation where if Atletico beats Botafogo, that means the top, and PSG assumedly beat Seattle, then all 3 teams will be on 6 points, and all 3 teams will have beaten each other. So the head-to-head is then null and void. And then what you're going for is goal difference between those teams. And if they're the same, it's then goal difference in the group. It's very, very complicated. But I think I've worked out that if Atletico beats Botafogo by two clear goals, they will go through at Botafogo's expense. Assuming PSG beat Seattle. But that does mean that Botafogo, all they need to do to qualify is not lose by 2 goals or more. So if they lose by 1, they go through ahead of Atletico. If they draw, they go through as group winners, which would be an amazing achievement. And actually, and richly deserved. You don't beat PSG and get knocked out. I think that should be a rule.
Yeah. And Luis Enrique said that Botafogo was the best defending teams he encountered during the season.
Yeah.
So
in League One or the Champions League, he said.
And I think he would have preferred not to have to play a crunch game against the Sounders, but from what I've read, this morning, it's not going to stop him to rotate his squad. Hakimi will not play, I presume. Pacho and Gfara either. So he will make some changes, because I think PSG is better than Sounders, even if Seattle showed that they can compete in the Club World Cup. But I don't have a lot of doubts concerning the fact that PSG is going to win this game.
Pedro, so on putting you on the spot, who do you think is going through in this group? Which 2 teams do you think will go through in this group?
PSG and Botafogo, for me, have real chances to go through. I'm pleased with the performance they show in the previous matches. I think Botafogo has strength enough to qualify. I believe these are the strongest teams. if you give me opportunity just to talk a little bit about the under 21 tournament. I don't want to blow out your alignment. Should I talk now or in the next opportunity?
Let's pick up quickly at the end, if that's all right. Let's just finish the groups,
all
and
right.
then we'll have a quick mention of the under 21s, because of course that's really interesting as well at the second.
Okay, Leo, give us your opinion about this group, PSG group.
I think you're right. Botafogo and PSG will qualify.
I really hope you both are right. I want Botafogo to go through. There's a part of my head that thinks there's going to be sort of a couple of surprises here and there, and there's a part of me that Atletico historically have been complete. There's a rude word, but it's in like how they used to play. Sort of like they used to get enough done. They would drag you down to their level. They play nasty and just find a way quite often. And I have a horrible feeling that they're going to win 2-0 and they'll go through in second place and PSG will be first. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah. I've just got that feeling in the back of my head. It's like they'll sort of just find a way. But yes, honestly, I want Botafogo to go through as well. But I have a bad feeling. And the last games are Group A, strangely, and they will be Inter Miami versus Palmeiras, who are the top two in Group A, and then Porto versus Al Ahly, who are third and fourth. Now, the way this group works, obviously, because if it goes to head-to-head, obviously, whoever wins between Palmeiras and Inter Miami will win the group. If it's a draw, they will both go through as they are. But obviously, because Inter Miami beats Porto, that means if Porto beats Al Ahly, then they won't finish ahead of Inter Miami, regardless of what happens. But they could jump Palmeiras. So it's quite strange. So actually, both matches have stuff riding on them. But it does depend who beats who about who will then leapfrog. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think, in my opinion, the standings will not move tonight. Palmeiras and Inter Miami will draw, and Porto is going to beat Al Ahly. Or draw, because Al Ahly are a proud team, so they will want to finish the best way their tournament.
I would say personally, I would agree. But also, I think Porto will beat Al Ahly, but that means they can't go ahead of Inter Miami. So that relies on Inter Miami beating Palmeiras, and I just don't see that happening. I think personally, I think Palmeiras will win and Porto will win, which means Palmeiras and Inter Miami will go through. That's my opinion. Pedro, who do you think will go through this group?
Today in the Portuguese newspapers, the headlines were: if Porto doesn't win, the franchise will dismiss the coach. This is it. This is it for Porto. They are fighting for.
But actually, Pedro, you said a few days ago that you were wondering why we were considering Porto among the strongest teams of the tournament, because you were saying that they have been completely underwhelming this year, and this entirely backs up what you were saying.
Yes. I told in a better perspective that faith Porto, it was the right call to make money. Simple as that. And Porto shows nothing till now. And I think they will play for their own prestige and for the fans I think this time they will bring the victory. And of course that Palmeiras have everything on his pocket. They don't need to make any calculation, and I agree with you guys that the Palmeiras and Inter Miami are the teams who are going to be qualified.
Okay, great.
Which would be a surprise.
Well, in itself, yeah, absolutely. It would be. Yeah. Well, I mean, and also I think it's very important what we see with sort of international tournaments, and particularly the World Cup, when the host nation goes through. It's a much more interesting tournament. So having an American side in the next round would be great. I don't think they'll get any further, but it just increases interest.
Yeah. We never doubt about the fact that Palmeiras were going to go through, but nobody would have bet on Inter Miami, I think.
No, I completely agree. Before we get off then, quick note on the under-21s. There was a really surprising result, I believe. Portugal Portugal under-21s against the Netherlands under-21s. Pedro, do you want to say something about that? Because there was an early red card, and actually the team with the red card won.
Yeah, yes, very quickly. If in this under-21 tournament, I have a disappointment and a surprise. The disappointed is obviously it's the Portuguese team because shows what we call a lack of depth. When you are playing 11 against 10 and you are doing the same efficient drive over and over again, shoot almost 20 times, only 4 shots in the target, no magic, nothing, you don't deserve to go through. And my surprise, the good one surprise, is the Danish team. The only fault they made it was playing against France, who is the real contender to win the tournament. This is a very good young group with future, in my opinion, very good players. One of the players is Conrad, who plays in Sporting. But it's a good generation that I think in 3-4 years are going to play in a good seniors level and make the Danish people happy because I believe in this Danish team for the future.
Yeah. Personally, I think one of the big shocks was a repeat of the last under-21s final, England against Spain. England, despite losing to Germany in the last match and drawing with Slovakia in a 0-0, England beat Spain 3-1, and actually it was fully deserved. They were very impressive. And there was actually a bit of a fight at the end between the two sides after a Spanish player tried to, put one of those like sort of nasty little tackles on Tino Livramento, which sort of provoked, which is actually exactly what happened at the end of the last under-21 final. There was a bit of a brawl. It does seem that it's quite those two sets of players quite abrasive, quite sort of knocking heads. But yeah, I'd say England getting through is quite a surprise in itself.
Yeah. For me, I watched the Portugal game. Pedro, I think the main turning point of that game was Kenda's missing his penalty. More than the red card, it was quite a difficult thing to surpass for Portuguese players. Although I think Netherlands could have been handed a second red card because the tackle at the beginning of this penalty was kind of hard. And I can bet that if Van Bommel hadn't been excluded a few minutes ago, Rensch would have been two.
Yeah, I get that point.
Yeah. And if I can just say a word on the France-Denmark game, I was really impressed with France's resilience because they scored a goal disallowed by VAR. They got a counter stopped by the referee for a reason we ignore. So it was contrary elements, but they've shown that they are a good team, a very good team, and not just individualities. Really a group of friends who play football. And concerning Denmark, I just want to note that I appreciated William Osula, the striker.
Yeah, the Newcastle striker.
Yeah, which is physically an imposing player. He's powerful. He's a real poison for opposing defenders. And more to that, he's the prototypical striker that Denmark has been producing for years now. He's in the vein of Øyvind Poulsen, Mika Biret, or Kasper Dolberg.
Right, I'm afraid I actually have to finish here. But is there anything else either of you two have to say before we end this live stream?
It's okay. For me, I think we said...
And that's perfect timing. Thank you so much for joining us, Leo. Thank you so much, Pedro. Obrigado. Merci to both of you. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you look out for our socials, to follow, to subscribe, all of those things. And we'll see you tomorrow once Group A and B have been completed. We'll see you then. Have a
Goodbye,
good day, everybody.
Yeah.